Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich, who's been covering the capital for over 30 years.
And I survived, and I'm here to talk about it. No, when a big part of what goes on in the Capitol is crime and law enforcement and law and order. So we have half of the law and order. We have the order, I think, or the law. We have the law part. We have Albany County District Attorney David Soares with us,
Very good.
and as a return guest. So we must be doing something right. So welcome back to the Jewish View.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we weren't too tough on you, so you can come back. And although you did have a health scare recently.
Very recently, yes.
Your health over here. We wanted to check in with.
So I hope that wasn't attributed to being on the show.
Oh no! It was
It's a pleasure being on our show.
Being on the show was a pre-existing condition.
Oh.
No. I thank you for asking. I did have a health scare back in October. I had a quintuple bypass surgery, and
Quintuple, five.
five. My dad left me a lot of things, including his cholesterol and high blood pressure. So you take those two issues, and then you take a stressful position, and then what you have is if you're not taking care of yourself, which I have to admit I was not doing, you're going to end up in one of our wonderful institutions here in Albany County, St. Peter's, getting that kind of news. But it's been a while, and we went through. It was an amazing facility here that we have.
Okay.
The people of the Capital District should really be proud of the kind of quality of medical services we receive, and it's been a long road, but I am back. So thank you for asking.
And I didn't see you. You said this happened in October, and I was concerned because I didn't see you around Election Day, where you were up for re-election.
Yes.
And then you weren't on the podium. You weren't saying. No one was saying anything. You didn't have an opponent, I believe.
Well,
right? So
it was those were one of the issues that, of course, was troubling, because you want to always communicate your message to the public. A lot of what we do for every term, because every term we're not continuing from the work that we've done the previous terms. We're looking for that kind of feedback you get from the voters. You're looking for that kind of feedback that you're getting on the door when you're interacting with people, and you're looking to weave that kind of feedback into your policies moving forward. So we didn't have that opportunity this last time. But what we decided to do as an administration is this summer, as well as moving forward, we are going to be visiting people. We're going to be going into communities, not that we're running for office, but we're going to be getting out there on those doorsteps and talking to people and seeing what it is that we're doing right and what it is that they think we could be doing.
But then they will look for your lawn signs and will look for your name on the
That's
voting booth.
true.
But it's good to see that you're just not doing it on an election, during an election year.
That's one of the criticisms that I think politicians get, and rightfully so, is that you're
see
only
you-
here when you want us to vote for you. So I think that what was in fact very traumatic for me turned into a blessing.
But you didn't put out a news release. You handled it very quietly, and I was wondering why that would be the case. Why wouldn't you want the people to know? I mean, you were unopposed, so it's not like, well, your opponent could take advantage or something. I was wondering why you kept it so low key.
What we felt was that it was appropriate for us to make a public announcement about what had happened to me publicly, because
that it wasn't, or
well, we wanted to communicate to the people of Albany County that I had been hospitalized and I was having this medical procedure.
Yeah.
Because
when did you do that?
We did that soon, right before I got the diagnosis, I believe. I was in the hospital.
I just missed it. So
I was in a hospital on a Monday. I got surgery on a Wednesday, and I think it was between that space and time that we alert the public.
Oh, you did? Then I missed it. My faux pas.
Yeah, we alerted the public from the perspective of, look, I'm going to be away from the office for a bit, but we have amazing people. Whatever you need, you will be able to.
But you told the public
services.
not that you're just going to be away for a while, but that you're from the office, but that you had the quintuple bypass?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
We didn't mention anything politically. We didn't get into any of the politics.
No,
We didn't
there's
talk
no
about
politics.
any position.
Heart disease affects Democrats and Republicans alike.
It does. and so there, for me personally speaking, the last several months has just been a second chance to live life again, and it's a renewed experience, and I can talk to people about health, Because without health, there is nothing else. You can't have a position, you can't be conservative, you can't be liberal if you're not breathing and living correctly.
So how have you changed your life?
Well, you know,
Besides getting married.
yeah, that my wife, who's an amazing, she's become a dietitian overnight. She's become a nurse overnight. But an amazing partner in helping me along this way, because it's not easy to take a person who's accustomed to engaging aggressively in everything that I do to take a step back. So my diet's so much better. I don't eat the way that I used to. The number one killer, I think, out there, aside from violence, is really the food that we're eating. And I've had to really take a lesson in that over the last several months.
So fewer carbs, or?
Well, it's just when you're reading the labels. I go through the supermarket now, and everything that I'm putting inside of me, the high sodium and all of the different chemicals that are being put into.
So you're avoiding those.
I'm avoiding all of those things and having to change my entire life around.
Did the Brooklyn Borough President, Eric Adams, contact you? Because he went on this kick and he lost like 80 pounds. I don't know if you lost weight. But
I've lost a little. Certainly haven't lost as much as I need to. But you know, when you were talking about Brooklyn, I thought you were going to talk about the district attorney that passed away.
I didn't want. Ken Thompson.
Ken Thompson, who's a good friend and you know, a very premature passing. As a matter of fact, I was on my way to my honeymoon, and I said to my wife, "Honey, when I come back, you've got to remind me, because I've got to get down there and pay my respects." And little did I know that I'd be getting off of a plane. And
but that was a diagnosis of cancer for him. So I didn't want to. That was irrelevant in terms of, except for the same position. But I'm saying that Ken Adams, the Brooklyn Borough President, went on this huge diet, and he changed the. He has a treadmill in his office. He has a lot of cardio workout, and he also changed the fast food machines in Borough Hall. And he has only healthy foods now. So I was wondering if you could share some of that with, you know.
That's exactly the experience that I'm having now. Now my mornings are different. The food that I consume in the morning, I'm not out there having omelets. It's your yogurt. You learn to love yogurt more. You have your shakes that are made up of, you know, your fruits and vegetables that are not doing so well in your refrigerator. My taste buds have definitely changed, and at first I couldn't. It was really difficult for me to get accustomed to. But now I just now if I eat something that's a little salty, it's really offensive to the palate.
Right.
But you know, you make that decision. You can continue to eat what you want and engage in this high stress environment that we're living in, or you can be scared and have an event transpire, and then let that force you into making those changes. And you know, for myself and someone like Mr. Adams, you know, we definitely sound a little nutty when we start to talk about this, because it is so important, and I don't think that people are really paying a lot of attention to.
Well, be careful if you're going to lose 60 or 80 pounds, because you know it's going to show in your face. It's going to show. People are going to worry on the other end
about what's going on with my health, right?
So you look happy and cheery and healthy. So you know, I just thought you'd want to signal that in some public way.
I really appreciate you asking. No, thank you so much.
On a down note, I do want to switch topics, because I know that. You and I saw each other at the paying a condolence call to the Greenberg family when Sol Greenberg, the former DA, passed away. So I wanted to, and you were his last hire, I was told. So I never heard you publicly speak about this in any length. So could you tell me your thoughts about and how you remember Sol?
You know, that came as a real shock to us, because we had been on the phone. My Renee Mergis, who is one of the assistants who work in the office, but she is really close to the Greenberg family. And so there's a gentleman who just recently retired, who was hired by Saul, and we wanted to make sure that Saul was available for the retirement party. We were trying to make sure that we picked the date that he didn't have dialysis on, so that he could be in attendance at the party. And so literally, in having these discussions, to now hear that he had passed, it was really sad for those of us in the office, because there's still there's still a class of us there, the group of us that were hired by Saul, and we very much identify our careers with Saul. Saul was our mentor, he was our leader, and for those of us in the office, he's still our DA. And we maintained that connection all throughout those years. I mean, we were really respectful in our transition from the building that into the new Justice Building. In an effort to maintain continuity, make him feel a part of our organization, we named our meeting room after him. We had a ribbon cutting that day, and we have his picture on our wall and all of the ADAs who worked for him. So Saul was very much a part of our culture in the office, but he was also very much a part of our lives.
Yeah, it was really the fabric that held a lot of it together.
Saul was an institution for us. I mean, I travel out of the county, and when I'm in other states and at association events, they ask for Mr. Greenberg. Was he there when you were there? And I said, well, he hired me. You know?
And what was it like being his last hire? I mean, is that just a media thing that they're tagging, or is there something significant or special about that?
No, there was something for me that was significant. I mean, when you're coming out of law school and you're trying to join a law office like the Albany County District Attorney's Office, and to be selected, amongst the variety of people that apply, it was very special for me. What was more special, however, was the level of interaction that you always had with Saul. Saul is one of the most personable people you'll ever meet in elected office. But the fact that you can be yelled at by a practitioner or a police chief or a judge and be able to pick up the phone and talk to your boss and have your boss provide you with, he'd correct you, but he'd provide you with a lot of confidence walking out the door to go back and do your job.
So let me just ask you, I mean, times have changed since he left the DA's office. Electronically and he wasn't much of a computer guy, was he?
Well, he wasn't much of a computer guy, but I think there are some benefits and then some I would say Saul was he's a retail level person. So if you needed to talk to you, it wouldn't be through a text, it wouldn't be through a phone call, it would be in person. And there's something that I think we've lost in that.
Well, he'd say, come in and see me.
Exactly.
And that's frightening for a lot of people. They'd rather text.
Well, yes, the very first time that happens, there is this fear and you lose your legs when you're walking down that narrow hallway into his office. But it's like I said, after that very first, conversation that you have with him, and then Saul would talk to you about whatever it was that he was talking to you about. If it was a case, he'd talk to you for probably 3 or 4 minutes. The remaining half hour, you'd be talking about his experience in the military, or you'd be talking about some other case but he made you feel, great about yourself walking out. So if there was a second call, you'd look forward to going in there and having that conversation. And that is something that's lost, I think, in leadership today.
But he also liked the hard copy files and not the electronic computer files.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I don't think in all of the time that we were together, I ever saw the bottom of his desk, the wooden component of his desk. I think it was always files and documents that were stacked yay high.
It was always, go to the file cabinet and get me that
and get the little card.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And get the card.
David, one of the bigger things, and Mark and I probably have every DA and sheriff literally around the Capital District, but one of the biggest crimes they're always saying is the heroin epidemic, and I don't know what can be done about it. I don't know, are they putting Band-Aids on the situation? They're picking up a few guys, but...
I think this is one of those crimes and one of those cases where in terms of public safety, whether it's marijuana, whether it's cocaine, or any other kind of offense, the law enforcement community is always there and ready and able to effect arrests to successfully prosecute. Except this issue is one where what is needed is a greater infrastructure in the medical and public health response, right? We've got to figure out ways of making sure that families who have loved ones who are addicted to the opiates have access to health care. The system of treatment can't be the same system as it is for cocaine or alcohol. It's not this 28-day program or 14-day program where you go in and then you're coming out and you're okay. This is a much more, the addictive nature of opioids is so much more aggressive than other chemicals. And so what's needed here is a very comprehensive law enforcement response, which I think working with the Albany County Sheriff's Department, the local police departments, the DEA, New York State Police, I think there's a very good coordinated response to it. What really needs to happen now is a greater public health response and providing greater access to people with addiction.
But now there's a form of heroin that's resistant to Narcan.
Yes.
And what's with that? And what's that chemical in there that makes it resistant to Narcan?
It's fentanyl, and fentanyl is an opiate which can be made in clandestine labs, and you have clandestine labs that are making products that are even more aggressive and harder than fentanyl. And the Narcan is really designed to address the binding centers in the brain for an opioid. And it doesn't really have that great of an effect on opiates. And so we're just really scratching the surface in terms of the access and the dangers to the opioids.
It just shows you that as much as law enforcement tries to eradicate this, that the criminals are always, finding new ways to thwart your efforts.
Profit is the bottom line, and the biggest problem with the opiate, aside from its addictive quality, is how inexpensive it is. And people can go out and spend less than they would spend on a box of cigarettes and get high on an opioid. And right now, communities have to wrestle with issues like greater access to treatment, but also safe injection sites, which I know has been a very controversial topic.
That's what I was going to ask, yeah. Do you think there should be safe injection sites?
Well, the thing is, for me, at the end of the day, what I want is for people to be alive, for people to...
Well, would safe injection sites still keep people alive?
I think safe injection sites does keep people alive.
So you can support that?
I think it's a very controversial issue.
Right.
And I think it's one that every community has to grapple with.
Yeah, I got to tell you, in the 80s, I went up to Shenendehowa High School to do a story with the principal, and I saw outside his office there was a picnic table, and those kids in high school were smoking cigarettes. And I asked him, I said, "This is ridiculous. What are they, right outside your..." He goes, "Yeah, this is the smoking area, and I keep an eye on the kids to know when they're smoking so they don't go behind the building in the trees in the forest there." And I'm like, what? What are you doing?
and that's a very natural reaction. I back in 2007, I believe, I traveled to Vancouver, Canada for a harm reduction conference. And at the time, Vancouver was wrestling with this opioid addiction issue. And they were also getting the Olympics there that following year. And the local electeds, along with the public health community, got together and did a very controversial thing. And what they did was they created a safe injection site. And they also created a safe space around the safe injection sites where people who were doing drugs could come and be safely injected, monitored with a doctor, and they had all sorts of providers there as well. At first, I was really offended by it because that's not the world that I'm in. I'm at a place right now in my life where you're getting calls and you're getting victims who are dying every day because of what they're injecting in their bodies. And the question for this community to wrestle with is, do you want people putting things in their bodies that can kill them, or do you want them to have access to these things that they're addicted to, which are safer, that will not result in them dying? We have a community right now where we're losing more people to drunk drivers and overdoses than we are to gun violence. And if we had as many bodies on our streets as a result of gun violence, people would be screaming from the rooftops. But this seems to be very different. And our reaction to this isn't the same as it would be as if there was one person out there killing people. And so this is something we have to wrestle with as a community.
So would you support safe injection sites? I mean, or are you still grappling with this and the jury's still out, so to speak?
The jury is still out for me, but I am raising the issue because we need to have the dialogue. We can no longer take the moral stance. We can't take the politically correct stance. We need to have a dialogue as a community. Albany County is an essential location throughout the state of New York. It's where the New York City meets Canada. It's where Boston meets Chicago. We're in the center of that. There's a tremendous amount of volume of products moving in and out of our community. And as a community and as a leader in that community where we are stopping a lot of these drugs from coming in, we can't stop everything. And I just feel for the parents who I've had contact with over the years who've lost a loved one because of their addiction. And I can't look at them in the eye and say, I'm against something that, had it existed when your child was addicted, could have prevented her death. I can't say that. But I think as a community, we have to wrestle with these very difficult questions, and we have to arrive at a place that's going to make this the safest and soundest community.
Okay. Raise the age. We want to talk to you about whether you think 16 and 17-year-olds should be there when they allegedly commit a crime, that they should be in family court, in criminal court. Family court would be as a minor, criminal court would be as a major majority. Should they be put into a youth detention facility? Should they be put in with hardened criminals? What's your thinking on raise the age?
We're very supportive of the concept of raise the age. I think where we've had our differences of opinion with the District Attorneys Association, the law enforcement community, and the elected officials. I think where we've had the differences is the class of crimes that they want to move over to family court, classes of crimes that we as prosecutors prosecuting violent crimes are much more experienced in addressing than, quite honestly, those in local
But do you
courts.
think that there's a common ground where certain crimes where 16 and 17-year-olds are not intellectually developed, where their brains are still youthful?
I'm not on the
not fully formed.
Yeah, I'm not on the bandwagon of the fully formed brain so much as I am on the side of does it make sense? In other words, we should have more involvement. There should be kids going to family court instead of criminal court. I mean, you don't want the stigma of a crime. You don't want the rest of your life to be defined by something that you do when you're 16 or 17. So we're very much in agreement with the fact that family court should have jurisdiction over 16 and 17-year-olds on certain crimes.
Okay.
Anything involving violence, it's still the adult courts that need to be prosecuting those cases. Anything involving especially sexual violence, those are the kind of cases that I think prosecutors are better equipped to handle than family court. The other issue, however, is I really want to implore our elected officials who are encouraging and passing raise the age, that they make sure that there's a check associated with this new piece of legislation, to make sure that there's more prevention strategies and programs available for kids, not just when they reach the doorsteps of a court, but before they do so. And so that's very important. Prevention is better than any courthouse, whether it be family court or criminal court.
So it's the means to the end.
Exactly.
That's you're arguing about, which is what every argument is at the Capitol, I guess. So.
I guess when you say it like that, that is true.
What about hate crimes?
Hate crimes is something that's very troubling. I think that we're living in a climate right now where the number one, call it the executive of the entire United States, I think there is a culture there that seems to make those people who before were hidden in the shadows. I think there is a culture that is giving license for these folks to come out of the shadows. I think given the technology that we have with social media, that's also giving people a license to express themselves in ways that they wouldn't have before.
Maybe there should be safe hate crime sites. and you can
You know,
monitor.
If they were hating each other, there'd be no problem, but if the fact is that they're perpetrating their offenses on people who don't
So
want
it's-
anything to do with them.
Instead of
You know-
being in the shadows, they'd be out in the open.
It's
with no-
interesting you say that. People will be in a car and they'll curse someone, but like that, face to face, they said, wow, I never would do that to somebody. So again, that impersonal texting and emailing and all those kind of things, you could sit back and you don't feel you're hurting someone instead of telling some person to their face they're a jerk, and-
We learn so much more from each other, and we become a better society when we're having that one-on-one dialogue. It's like what we were talking about with Sol Greenberg. One of the reasons why Saul was such a loved person, it doesn't matter whether you were in his office or you were at a diner, you were having that dialogue with him, and you just grew to like him. As a society, I just don't think that we're speaking to one another. I think we're speaking at one another through various devices, but we're not speaking with one another.
I think, again, we're on the Jewish View, so of course,
Right.
as rabbi, I have to put in a commercial for the Judaism, but, a lot of people will say that, and we have computer programs, hey, we're on the Jewish View, we're on the, cable TV, so we understand that you have to use modern media. On the other hand, there's again, coming together in the synagogue, and people say, well, I can pray by myself, or I can learn by myself, I can hit the computer, why do I have to come to a class? But it's exactly what you say, that you're saying, you interact, you talk to someone, hey, I have an idea, so you bounce it off you. They're always you learn off somebody, or you help someone, hey, man, my son needs a job. Hey, I know somebody there, and you talk it that way. And that's what I'm saying. People are getting just, I don't need anybody. I need my computer. I get my cubicle. I'm in my basement, and I don't need anybody. I could have the whole world at my fingertips. You're right. On the other hand, that human intervention is very, very important. And, like I always say, Judaism does that, because they just say, hey, come and learn together with a group, come pray with a group, not just do everything yourself. That's my commercial.
That's good.
I got to put a commercial for
That's
the
a
Jewish
plug.
View.
That's right. Very good. Very well said.
Just a few more minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about pistol permits. Why does it take so long in Albany County for a pistol permit to be approved? And how could this process be speeded up? Because, in other counties around the Albany County, it doesn't take anywhere near as long.
I think Albany is one of those counties that, and personally speaking, I think Albany County is a responsible county, and I think we have a judiciary and a process that there is thorough vetting. And it's that thorough vetting that takes time, and I've heard that expressed by other people in the past about pistol permits. But I think
What do you tell the people? That
I think that what gives people confidence, it's just the same thing as being at an airport when you're going through the security screenings, and and it's not the most convenient process, but you're going through that screening.
Well,
and when you look back and you see everybody else going through that screening, you feel a little bit better about getting on that plane.
Yeah, but I'm told that because Albany County judges have such a backlog of criminal cases, that these pistol permit applications don't get the triaged as a high priority, whereas in the other counties surrounding us, Greene, Rensselaer, there isn't as much of a caseload. So
I think you can, if you're talking about volume, Albany does have a greater volume of cases than other surrounding counties, but there's no backlog. I think Albany has, we have our county court judges, but we also have our Supremes, and there are also Court of Claim judges that also sit in our courts. So the volume of cases.
But it's the county court judges who review the pistol permit applications.
It's the county court judges, as well as other Supremes will review them as well. They'll do, and anyone who's appointed as a particular, in a particular role can have the authority to do that. I think it's just a vetting process. I think that because I've seen people who've not so much as had a traffic, infraction, make the application, and that application to take some time.
What, 5 months?
Longer?
Longer?
A little bit, so around 5 months.
Yeah. And in Rensselaer County, I think it's 2 months. So people, I'm just saying that we had the county clerks on here recently, and from Rensselaer and Albany counties, and they said that it was because of the caseload, not the backlog, but the caseload. That because in Rensselaer County, they used to have one judge
Yeah.
that would review all the pistol permits. And now the other judges wanted a say in it, so now they spread it out over the 5 different judges. But, they didn't want it all in one person's hands,
Albany, we do have, and it's not just the criminal cases, it's the volume of, it's the state's capital, so a lot of litigation, a lot of Article 78 motions that are filed in our courts, that we do have a very busy judiciary. But it's also, to take comfort, again, you take comfort in the fact that if someone is receiving a pistol permit in Albany County, that they have been thoroughly vetted.
Do you have a pistol permit?
I do not have a pistol permit.
You don't. Do you want one?
I have a great group of people in the office
Who
that
have enough
provide-
pistol permits?
that provide a great security.
So you're not a fan of having you don't need one. It's like
It's a personal choice, I think,
it
for
is.
everyone.
That's why I'm asking you about your personal choice.
It's a personal choice for everyone, and it's something that I've contemplated in the past, and my wife and I have talked about, and I think given the people that I'm surrounded by, the great people I'm surrounded by, and where I am, I just think it's something that at this point in time,
It's unnecessary for you.
It's unnecessary for me. Should I move? Should there be a change in circumstance? Then I think that it's something that I would have to revisit.
Mark,
that Delmar, it's a really tough.
It's a tough town.
Tough town, So.
Mark, we're out of town with a fellow Delmarian, and in case good neighbors, you're doing great work, but the main thing is to do it with good health and continue with success.
Yes, continued success.
Thank you.